here's a quick preview of what I kind of ended up with for the library. I realized that I didn't really showcase how did I end up exactly with these sounds in the breakdown. So if people are interested, I am happy to do a further explanation on these. But yeah, here's a bit of a taster of what's in the library. Cool. So this is hopefully a relatively quick video about kind of how I designed some of the designed section for Presley's sound design Discord library. And shout out to Paul Stoughton for his Penguin Library Armory idea, which really inspired this. So go and check out his libraries and all the great videos in the Armory. But yeah, so I really got inspired by that and wanted to do like just a design section for a library. And Presley Hines happened to have this sound design Discord library going on, so I asked if I could pitch in, and here we are. So I guess the challenge or the idea is that I'm only using content from that library and trying to do kind of like a designed section and trying to kind of make these very normal recordings into kind of Boom-esque, maybe design section or just kind of enhanced versions of themselves. And yeah, let's get into it. I first browsed through the library and noticed there's quite a lot of like nice organic or squelchy or gore-like recordings. So I thought maybe I'll try and go for something like Mutate Organic from Boom, that kind of style, and try and figure out how can I process these recordings in a way that they would kind of start sounding that massive. So yeah, I guess let's start with what I kind of chose from the library. So we have some very cool flappy gore-like impacts. Those are going to be very, very helpful. I guess just as a general note, what I'm kind of looking for is anything that already out of the box has like cool character. It doesn't necessarily need to be like what I don't know what I'm going to use it for, but just something that catches my eye, and obviously the signal to noise ratio is good, and it just has something unique about it. So next we just have some kind of rubber handling, very useful. This one, oh, it's the same, but I pitched it up, and some kind of squelchy stuff. Again, same thing, but it's, oh, that one was pitched down. Okay. And as you can see, I got different processing for each track, which we will get into in a minute. Then there were these really nice zaps and stings. I think these are already designed, so I'm not sure what the source is, but I thought, why not? They could be cool for something. And just some water running. More squelchy stuff. This has some of that rubbery, well, not rubbery texture, but like those nice squeals and very wet sound. So I think that's gonna fill out the high end nicely. And just like rubbing plastic, I guess. Very nice tonal squeaks. More of this kind of tactile plastic handling, I think. And some classic sponge squeeze stuff. I think that could be helpful for kind of like an attack of the sound, or well, designing some kind of an attack layer out of that. So yeah, I think very kind of like, you know, your everyday recordings that you can get at home, and they can still be very useful. So my idea is that I will do a initial batch of processing on all of these, so I don't have to start from scratch in that sense after I've done this first stage. So essentially I'm trying to do a first set of building blocks, which we will then render out and continue processing. So I would basically just build a chain on, I guess, impacts. They're nice and easy to begin with, and trying to figure out what do I kind of want out of that sound. And usually it just means, you know, making the sound louder, giving it some saturation, trying to fill out the sound, basically make it like more wholesome in a way, and see if I can somehow enhance, for example, the impact nature of it with like disperser and filter freak, or any kind of more like wet like processing. But I don't want to go too far in the first stage. Basically I just want to make these what you would have in a modern library kind of. It's a lot of the recorded stuff or the raw files are already very processed and cleaned up, and usually that's what you want. If the recording is too raw, basically you always have to do a little bit extra work. So yeah, I would start with that, and let's see what we have for the impacts. So I think a very basic chain at this point. Inflator, filter freak to kind of just control the envelope a little bit, transient shaper to bring out the attack, some kind of bass enhancement. I think you will find this is one of the most essential tools, I feel like. It just helps out a lot, and it doesn't need to be sub-synth. It just happens to be the only one that I have at the minute. You can use Ambassador, Basement, and R-Bass, and whatever. There's a ton of these plugins, and they are, I would say they are one of the most essential plugins for this kind of processing. Disperser, Sumi, I still use it quite a lot. It just makes stuff sound good. But obviously, no need to overdo it. Some EQ to kind of round it out a little bit, and just the good old digital drum compressor to make it louder. So I mean, that would be it. I wouldn't even listen to the whole thing necessarily. Obviously, you could really clean up this file at this stage, but I wanted to keep this fairly short, so I left it there. So I know I've done this already, but like next, I would basically copy over. I would duplicate the track, move to the next source, and start tweaking that chain. So usually it doesn't necessarily sound the best out of the box with the same chain, but you can have some happy accidents, which are always great. And then I would also think about like, what do I want from this layer? So let's check out this one. Okay, quite wide, very crackly. So again, I think I've leaned into just reducing the noise as much as possible, because when you really slam these sounds, the noise will just come up. So you want to try and get rid of that as much as possible. So if we well, actually, in this in this example, it doesn't necessarily matter that much because it's so processed, but you know, I used transgressor to get rid of the worst peaks. I guess that's also something that you want to be mindful of, is peak control, and how can you basically even out the sound as much as possible for the processing. So you're processing it in a kind of smooth way, instead of like one peak catching all of the distortion and then rest of the sound is unmodulated. So I thought this was a nice way to kind of smoothen it out. You can clip it or compress it or do whatever you need to do, limit, stuff like that. And usually it's done in like stages. I'm no expert in this. I just do kind of like what I've learned over the years, but I don't know how to explain it. Then some more inflator to make it louder. I guess this is wave shaping this does. Or saturation. I really don't know. It's free and it makes things louder. So I guess for this, I already wanted this to be a little bit more designed. Yeah, I think the processing here is kind of trying to alleviate the lo-fi nature of it. I think this processing is taking out a lot of the high end because there's a little bit of noise there because it's so slammed. You know, it has that nice movement, but we're lacking the high end seriously. So my go-to is to rely on browsing presets, and Snap Heap has a ton of them. But yeah, this one just made it very wide and, you know, kind of cool, crackly top end to it. So I thought, yeah, that works. And then again, bass enhancement and disperser. Like, for example, here, disperser really helps to make the top end, high end distortion much nicer. It just feels more intentional rather than kind of random distortion. Again, same EQ. I think I like to have just kind of like dipping the mids, low mids, and somewhere here, because that usually builds up when you process these sounds. So when you start using these building blocks, you don't want to have to go back and start EQing every layer. Hold T to bring everything up, and again DDC to make it louder. And then I find that actually kind of over emphasizing the mids usually helps. You want to have too much rather than too little, because then that's kind of like where the power lies, at least I feel like it. So reducing the highs quite a lot. I don't have auto makeup gain here, but for the low mids and mids, just basically get a lot of that character of the sound out of that area. So I try to crank it up with Bria X Comp. Alright, on to the next sound. I think here again, same chain, and start experimenting. From this, I wanted some kind of like wet movement. Which I think is, with the frequency shifter, again, I'm trying to get, there's kind of like that honking resonance, so I'm trying to get rid of it and essentially make it thinner, because now I want the top end, but not necessarily like that really strong low mids. So with Snap Peep, I think we're doing, making it wide, cool, sounds nice and wide, like way too wet, I think, but sometimes I use Valhalla frequency echo as well, but it introduces a noise, which I don't like, so I don't, well actually now it's high cut, so could work. Worth experimenting with. But Crystallizer is very good for wet sounds. Pitch it down. And basically that's it. It just makes things very wet. And at the end it's the same processing as always. And I'm not gonna go through all of these, but I would just continue doing this. Again, like duplicate the track. And it's just kind of like jamming with the sounds. So, you know, I would try, oh, maybe I want a low mid. Oh my God, what the hell am I doing? Low mid layer. So, okay, maybe not that. Maybe we can make it darker. Okay, not that dark. Where is that coming from? Start experimenting with the sounds, and then, you know, this could be a cool layer for something. I don't know what, but like if I heard this in the library over that, I would pick this, because it's already going somewhere. It's half the job is done basically. So I'm just gonna quickly play through what I got from the This was already by the way, the already designed one, so that's why it already sounds so cool. Random water. I guess I didn't use that one. It's almost inaudible. Some of them I try to keep a little bit more natural, so it's not all super wet processing. Here you can kind of hear the noise around the recording or the sound, but it's fine. It's fine. Then I would bounce all of that out. So here we have the same files, but rendered out. I would go to stage 2 and bring in all the sounds into the session. And one of my favorite things is just layer them all on top of each other. I'm trying to like check every stage for any kind of happy accidents. Like maybe randomly these layers, they just sound really good together. Who knows? So I just layer them all and hit play. And then you can start thinking like, okay, I think there's some potential. Maybe I'll take some of the more constant textures and some of the one-shot stuff and see how that works. Maybe not the magic stuff. Oh, this is actually already pitched down. So let me... Oh my God. Set it all back to 1. Okay. Some of that stuff needs a little bit more processing or like control over it, but you know, this could already be a useful texture. I would again record that. If we wanted to, we could make that into library, you know, files. And yeah, just kind of trying to combine these in different ways and see what we can come up with. What kind of constant textures, I guess, we could do first. But usually at this stage, you don't get that much happy accidents, but just literally with these sounds with no processing. But my not so secret weapon is Traveler. So without any processing, when we start Dopplering the sounds, we get some very cool. It's somehow when you Doppler a bunch of sounds, you just get this like sense of one, like they become this one sound, which is really cool. And you get a ton. Like this is how I generate most of my content with Traveler. It doesn't need to be Traveler. I'm sure other Dopplers will work just as well, but this is the one I have. So you can do just normal swooshes. You can kind of mix your layers if you want. And, you know, I would start just recording stuff again. And if you're doing this, obviously you want to be kind of sensible about, or if you want to be, you know, do a bunch of quick swooshes, do different kind of movements. So if I go all the way to the right, it's more like a incoming riser. All the way to the right on the shift, I mean. So you would do a bunch of risers like that with some of the content. Then, okay, cool, we want to try something else. And you just get a ton of textures very quickly, like this. You can do impacts. Maybe for impact you want a little bit more processing. Oh God. It's sounding a little bit slammed. And you know, you just keep recording this stuff. Different combinations. Happy accidents, exploring. You know, you can pitch them all down. I think for that, I wanna go pretty muddy for it. Well, muddy, but like filtered. You know, what I'm trying to do at this stage is to just cover kind of all of the frequencies. I want to get some low stuff. I want to get some high swooshes, mid swooshes, hits, impacts, risers, all kinds of movements and all kinds of different frequencies. And well, obviously you want to keep kind of adjusting the plugins as you go. And again, you would have another, so this is already what, doubled, tripled your library in a way, because you have the raw recordings. Okay, maybe you can forget about those, but now you have a cleaned up, more designed version of them, and also this next level of like even more designed, which might mean that it's even more specific, but it's more ready to use out of the box in a way, if it happens to be the sound that you're looking for. And here's a bunch of stuff that I already kind of exported out, doing exactly that thing earlier. And you know what we're going to do next? We would take all of that, render it out, put it into processed V2, whatever, and then we do it again. So here's all of the recordings from stage 2, kind of stacked up again. Oh, without any processing. And now you can start hearing like, okay, this is like a little bit more controlled. Everything's already more designed. So out of the box, the sounds kind of fit nicely together. So again, kind of checking for happy accidents. I might just record this whole thing if I would be building my own library, or my personal library in that sense. As well, it's like a nice texture for multiple things. But yeah, then we would again see what we can get out with Traveler. Maybe pitching all of these down. Yeah, some cool impacts. And again, kind of different kind of stuff. And from this kind of stuff, it's then also easier to try and go a little bit more abstract, like just making the processing very extreme at this stage, because the pre-designed stuff is already kind of so powerful, and in a way it's more cleaned up now. So yeah, stuff like this could be useful. or really kind of going crazy with snap heap. And yeah, from this like pre-designed stuff, you can now start thinking about like, oh, maybe like what kind of sweeteners might I need? Just like more abstract designs. So yeah, like at this stage, I would be pretty happy saving these at least, and then everything that you come up with those sounds at this stage. And then we would do kind of like our final design. I don't have these neatly organized anywhere, but you know, you would have at this stage a bunch of content in your library, and it should be fairly easy to now then just kind of combine cool things out of these without needing to process them that much. I don't know how much good impact we have, but we can just kind of, I'm doing this completely by kind of chance. So we see what we get. That looks like some kind of a sequence. Okay. Could be cool. Maybe that's like a tail. Yeah, could be fun. And even at this stage, you're quite prone to like still finding a lot of happy accidents by, you know, just randomly doing this. You know, maybe that's not the sequence that I exactly wanted, but that could be cool. Then you do it again and again and again, and you know, for example, wrong. Oh my god, what am I doing? Okay, now you have those random things, but not all of it is useful, but maybe like this bit was cool. Oh my god, this is not my usual setup. And also I can't see. Was there an impact here? Yeah. Okay, you can do it like this, maybe. Maybe not. But yeah, then you would combine those happy accidents into a new sound, a new sequence. Or we go back here and okay, that's not great, but and with some cleanup, you know, that would be our first design hit. And that is just using our own design process. And then to go back to the library itself and what we have there. What am I doing? I gotta give a shout out to Nicholas Yochum. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. He has also pitched in for this library, and hopefully it's going to do a breakdown of how he did all of these synth sounds, but they sound amazing. I have no idea how to do any of this, but you know, on top of our because I think Boom has a lot of synthetic elements in their designs, and it's mega cool. So we could do like finishing touches for our design using these. So usually take one variation and figure out what I want to do. I want to have that maybe there and that on the second impact. Something like that. Wow, that's kind of cool. else did I bring in? That's just too good. And I think that's pretty cool. And one of the best parts is we don't have any processing here. Like, obviously this needs a little bit cleanup, but it makes the workflow so much quicker when you just keep doing this over time. And by the way, again, a shout out to James Denholm. He was the one who had a video about this, like creating your own library, and that really clicked with me. And this is all I do now. Like, having your own, like building up your own library is going to make your designs, and I think it just makes you a better designer because you're constantly trying to find new sounds, and you're so intimately also knowledgeable about your library, and it helps you develop your own sound. And yeah, I love it, and it just kind of brings back the joy into sound design, at least for me. When you need to process, when you start like from a white page, you know that it's going to be so much work to get it there. But like when you have been doing this for a while, you already almost always have something in your library that you can just kind of chuck in and see if it works and do something unique from that. So highly recommend checking out his channel as well. But cool, I will continue kind of cranking out some assets from this, and you will find them all in the library. Sound Design Discord library. Cool. Thanks.